Good afternoon. Welcome. This is Kim McCoy-Way from the California Department of Aging, coming to you from where I am staying at home and working, and I hope many of you are staying at home and staying safe. And the theme of today, staying connected. We are really glad to be gathered with all of you. It's been about a month since this strange new world began, and we all stayed home, particularly older Californians and people at high risk, in order to stay healthy. And the good news is we are bending the curve and we are saving lives, and we thank older Californians for being the heroes, the front of this movement to stay home. The less good news is that this is hard. This is really hard, and we are all being challenged to reinvent our lives and our work and our families and our connections in this moment. And that's why we at CDA have been so inspired by what we're hearing from all around the state. We call it lessons from the field on how people are staying connected in new and different ways. And a big piece of that, we know, is bridging the digital divide. The digital divide is a major driver of inequity and disconnection for all ages, all regions, urban, rural. And it is critical that just as we are moving mountains in California, sometimes literally, to get more children online and close that digital divide and make sure that all important learning and connection continue, it's equally important for older Californians. The 8 and 80 principle applies in digital divide. And yet we know we have real barriers, particularly as we age. About 1 in 4 people in their 60s don't use the internet, 1 in 3 in their 70s, and more than half of people over 80 don't use the internet. And I want, if you can, I'm going to take the presumption that those of you with us today all are using the internet and connected. But if you can take a second and either think of someone in your life who's older and may not be online, or imagine what that's like. I have a colleague who has 2 sets of grandparents, one who's online and one who's not. And it makes a profound difference in their engagement, thinking of video chatting, thinking of content like this, of course, ability to do telehealth or refill prescriptions, and increasingly it'll be a part of ordering delivery of groceries and other necessary household supplies. So really being online is pretty critical to staying at home. And of course, we know it's not just one thing. There's the broadband access, which rural and urban can be challenges, as well as the cost of it, of course. There's also the device. What's the right device? And there's been enormous breakthroughs in voice activation and accessibility that are really changing things in really exciting ways for older adults and people with disabilities. There's also the training. Boy, all of us need help with the new devices, the new features, the new software. How do we help people get online, stay online, explore online? And then the other 4th piece is content. We want content that centers older adults, that celebrates older adults, that's meaningful and relevant in all of our diversity across our race and cultural diversity, LGBTQ, married, not married, children, not children, grandparents, not grandparents, the whole spectrum. And so making sure that when we go online, we see ourselves and can be creators there ourselves. So with that lofty goal and vision, of course, there are Californians rising to meet the moment and meet that challenge. We know there's great work being done in San Francisco, the Tech Council in Los Angeles, the St. Barnabas Senior Services, and through our work on the Master Plan for Aging, we were able to meet the wonderful crew at Oasis San Diego, led by Simona Valenchuta, who's here with us today to help us all learn more. Help us all learn about how we can help older Californians be online, stay online, and get the most of being online. And really, it's not just about being online, it's about being connected. I'm so grateful for your time and your team and your leadership and your partnership in being with us. I believe we were scheduled to do a Wednesday webinar when this all hits, so I'm thrilled to come back with you in this new way at this new time. We are going to be taking questions. It looks like the Q&A button through the Zoom platform will be the way to do that. So please use that anytime during the presentation, and my team will facilitate that with you. And please stay in touch with us. EngageCA.org is our campaign website for staying connected. And we have a call-in series for family and friend caregivers on Wednesday. This is our first tech conversation and the first of many to come. And there's so much more coming, including a very exciting plan for May, Older Americans Month, where the theme is Make Your Mark, and we'll be joining together to highlight all the ways older Californians are making their mark. So much more to come. But today, let's start with digital divide and, more importantly, digital bridging, all the work that's being done by Simona and San Diego Oasis. So with that, I'll hand it over. Thank you, Simona.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Kim, for the invitation. I'm thrilled to be here with two of my colleagues, Amy and Brandon, to tell you a little bit and to have a discussion with you about how we did some things very, very quickly and how we've never stopped so far in 4 weeks learning and adjusting to this virtual world with our most important audience, which is the older adult audience. So I will start off and then I will introduce Brandon for the next section. Next slide, please. I've been the president and CEO of this wonderful organization called San Diego Oasis. We've been around for almost 40 years and we have almost 50,000 older adults as our members. Membership at San Diego Oasis is free. And on your screen, meet some of our members, exercising, having a music concert, learning technology. To give you a scope, we put on about 3,000 programs every year in art, history, philosophy, wellness, exercise, nutrition, acting, you name it, we offer it. So next slide, please. Oasis started way before any successful or healthy aging research was available. So just to explain what we do and what we focus on, here are a few really important pieces. I'm sure you've all heard the Successful Aging Research Study. That is the largest study done so far, which followed 10,000 older adults for 10 years to ask the question, what makes one person age better or in a more successful way than another person with the exact same conditions and genetically predisposition removed out of the equation. So you see on the left, that is straight from their research study of what successful aging really means. And at the very same time, you see our three-pronged approach to what Oasis does every day. Lifelong learning to stimulate cognitive abilities, wellness and lifestyle activation to keep our bodies strong, and then putting seniors and giving them a meaningful contribution to make in their communities. That's the community involvement. So when that study came out, it was such a tremendous validation for something Oasis was already doing for 3 decades prior to the study. And with each subsequent study, we continue to be reminded and reaffirmed that what we do with older adults truly speaks to the best practice of aging and embracing it. Wall Street Journal, you see the quote that really loneliness and social isolation is a true healthcare issue. We tend to focus always on direct correlation, but this is the first time we equated the 15 cigarettes a day to the loneliness and social isolation. Next slide, please. Meet our team. So while I brought today with me just Amy and Brandon, I have 9 colleagues in our administration team that focus on various programming aspects. So you see their lovely faces there. And not pictured is our teaching staff, which we have several hundred at any given moment. So the point of this is I wanted to show you, here we are, we have a name and a picture and a title and a job that we thought we would be doing as usual. And that was very true for pre-COVID circumstance. The moment that started happening, we all lost our pre-described jobs and roles and everything we thought we knew about what we need to do every day. The beauty is that this team is so strong and flexible. That's just our value at the very core of how we operate, that nobody asked, well, what should I do now? We said, here's what we're going. We're not going to lose a single day. We're going to pivot quickly. We're going to learn as we do. And we did exactly that. So for example, you see Kelly Johnson, she's typically a full-time graphic designer, helping us with social media and catalog publishing and everything else. She's now our main Zoom meeting coordinator. And I could go through each person and make a point where we have completely shifted of what we think about, how we approach it, and how enthusiastically, with a little bit of fear, but really, attitude that we're gonna mess up and we're going to learn from it, and we're going to share the lessons, and we're going to keep going. So that's the approach we did. And we literally did not lose a single day of going from physical space and very much a high touch in-person interaction with our 50,000 members to a completely virtual Oasis. That's now become a global organization in 4 short weeks. Next slide, please. So here you see, before the pandemic situation, we had 5,500. We have 2 full-time locations that are physical locations and run full-time of programs, but we also have between 30 and 40 locations in the community, such as park and rec centers and libraries and senior centers and other places where we take our programs once in a while. So I'm going to ask Terry to click on this YouTube and just show you what our physical location looks like in normal circumstances.
Welcome to San Diego Oasis, where we engage adults 50 and over in the practice of successful aging. We learn new skills, get fit, and most importantly, have a wonderful time. Take a class in history, technology, finance, learn a new language or a new dance step. Celebrate the Older American Month with us. Do something for your mind, your body, and your community. Visit us at sandiegoOasis.org today.
Thank you for that. So that was, easy. That's what we knew how to do. We have beautiful locations. We have wonderful members. We're always happy to come in and see us and participate. And suddenly we're finding ourselves now with everything locked, all of our partner locations completely locked. You may know your community may be different. In our community here in San Diego, all of our libraries have locked their doors until September 1st. So we are finding, our members are finding, not only do I not have the full-time place I typically go and see my friends and that's where my life is, all of those extensive networks that we used to have are not available to us at all. So in 4 weeks, as I've mentioned, instead of having over 5,000 people, we have successfully transitioned 600 people participating with us in Virtual Oasis. And without any particular marketing or any particular strategy to outreach, you can see we have participants from Canada, Mexico, China, and all over the United States. We are realizing that many 50+ residential communities, owners and operators of mobile home parks and senior living communities are reaching out to us, asking if they could participate, if they could promote our mostly free programs to their residents. And I have to say that this week in particular, through our calling and outreach to our members to say, how are you doing? If you're online, how are you doing online? If you're not online, how are you doing? Do you want to go online? We've done some surveying and we'll share those with you. But this week, we have definitely seen the depression start manifesting itself in the senior adult population. Our members have been very stoic about, I'm going to be fine. Things are great. I'm strong. This is going to be okay. But this week, as we start calling and check in, for the first time, we really sense the onset of depressive behavior and retreat and loss of appetite and loss of mood and loss of just a general sense of well-being in an emotional lens. So I'll take the next slide, please. A quick timeline for you here. So on March 13th, how funny is it that it was Friday the 13th? We closed our doors and we did not allow any more members to come in, but we did a quick training on Zoom on a Sunday. As soon as we closed on Friday, we went to our technology instructors who typically work with us and asked them, who is the expert on Zoom? And could that person train the staff and any willing instructors to use that technology. So we had that training, and on Monday, we literally went virtual. What we did to overcome some of the instructor fear and anxiety about being in a completely different environment, we made a deal. We said, if you come in person in a locked down classroom, the staff will support you. We'll give you a laptop. We'll start the Zoom. We'll be there right there with you. So if you get stuck, we'll support you. If you could just focus on what you do best, which is teaching. And that's exactly what we did. So we ran a very interesting week of instructors coming and teaching in an empty classroom while the staff were there to support them with all the technology. That was our first way to ease some of the fear and support our program experts so that they could continue their expertise. And then a week later, on March 23rd, we closed completely. We sent everyone home, and we've been working virtually ever since. Next slide, please. So a quick note, Oasis does spend a lot of time on a good day when we are in person. We have an extensive technology offering to older adults. And once a year, I thought you may want to look at this. We partner up with our county's Aging and Independent Services, and we put on a free event, which we've done now for 7 years, and it's been growing every single year. We keep running out of space as a good venue to put this event on. So last year, which was in November 2019, we rented a movie theater because it's right next to Oasis, and we had 1,000 people attending. So I'm going to ask Terry to show us what that looked like. This is just a quick look of what a technology fair for older adults looks like. Terry, are you able to click on the link? Are you able to show the video?
Welcome to the 20.
Thank you, Terry. So many of you may be coming from perhaps a county department or working with aging and independence. So this I thought may be an idea you may want to try in your community. As I said, we started small. The county approached us to do this because we were already having expertise in technology learning for seniors. And now this event is tremendous effort. Imagine 30 different workshops in one day, completely free, in 7 or 8 different movie theater halls where we invite experts. And for every level of technology, for every interest in life, we have something. So we take surveys, and this is particularly relevant right now. We took this particular survey right before the technology fair and after, and this just reaffirms what we already know, that there are barriers with technology, and it's not just the device and the frustration and in-person learning are the preferred methods. You could see that child or grandchild ranks pretty low on this survey mark as far as where you prefer to learn technology and how you prefer that it is taught. So there's definitely special skill and special lens If you are already doing technology classes of how to do it, what pace to pick up, we tend to do a lot of series. So for example, we have I series, iPhone 1, iPhone 2, iPhone 3, and some seniors go right through it and they are pretty quick at mastering it. Some people do take iPhone 1 a couple times and then they get into iPhone 2 and then take that a few times before having the confidence and the readiness to proceed. So our members are like any other senior population. We have all levels of having a device or not, all levels of skill to use that device. But I wanted to share the survey results with you that there's a very, very strong preference to learn in person and from a peer or a specifically tailored curriculum for senior learning. Next slide, please. This is our most recent 600 participants. So you may remember we typically have over 5,000, so only 600 are currently online with us. But you see the variety of devices people are using to join our Zoom programs. It's a wide variety of devices, and when I get asked which is the most, if we could give everyone a device, which one would it be? What's the best one? As you can see, seniors are using all kinds of devices, depending on their mobility, depending on their preference and skill level. So I would argue that any device that's easy to use and comes with support is a good device to give to a senior. Next slide, please. So this is my last slide to share with you a few lessons before I turn it over to Brandon to speak specifically to the programming. On the positive side, people do change their minds. Both our members are within somewhere between ages 50 and 100 and few, and our instructors are also mostly seniors. So many of them, membership and instructor-wise, have said, no, 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 no. You can go to your online. I am definitely not going there. I'm not comfortable. I don't know what to do. When you open, give me a call. But you know, 2 weeks in, as they saw, well, wait, so-and-so taught a class online and they had a good time and they were even older than I am. So if they could do it, maybe I could do it. And also just the gratitude that comes from membership to say, whoa, I didn't think I would want this, but this is so important to me. Thank you for continuing. So people do change their minds. So if some of your members and instructors and staff and tell you no, give them a week or two and share those grateful moments of other people making the change and loving it. Also on the positive, you know, we've become an instant organization. We used to have all these processes of, you know, first we plan, then we, you know, graphic design, then we send it to the printer, then the printer sends it to the distributor, then the distributor distributes 25,000 catalogs in certain locations. Well, all of that is no longer relevant. If we think about, oh, we need program XYZ because it's really going to be helpful, we could find it today, we could launch it today, and it could be on the website tomorrow. And people from Mexico could be enjoying it alongside with people who live 5 minutes from me. So that instantaneous process is really a freeing experience. We knew we had to offer a lot of free programs because we need to bring this audience that's not naturally inclined to go online with us. So typically we charge a little bit for each class that we produce to give a stipend to the instructor to help pay for our staff members, our facilities, and so on. Now we knew that we needed to be online quickly, and most of those programs needed to be free because many people will try and won't be able to access them. So we need to keep them engaged to where they don't feel like they paid $5 and now they have a financial loss. I mentioned the grateful members. It's incredible the gratitude we get via text and phone call and email, just thanking us for being open in the environment, as I mentioned, where, you know, their senior living facility used to have programs, but of course now they don't have any. They used to, you know, have happy hours with their neighbors. They can't do that anymore. They used to go to the library. Well, the library is closed for the next 6 months. So as the world did shut down, the gratitude of Oasis doing something every day is tremendous. As far as the staff team, I've mentioned just, you know, I can't overemphasize how important it is to have great attitude on your staff who are willing to do anything. And every time we hire someone, that is a point we make over and over again. We need a generalist, we need an optimist, we need a person who'll do anything he or she is asked to. So in this environment of tremendous change, that team was a major way of why we did what we did and continue to do every day. We didn't have anybody who would say, well, I can't do that. I don't have the skills to do that. Simone, are you nuts asking me for that? You hired me for that. None of that happened. We all rallied. We all did what we needed to do. I will give a quick shout out to Amy, who used to manage volunteers and operations. She's now almost like a half-time video maker. Who knew? Her videos are fantastic, and you will see one piece of work here today with us. We also don't have a lot of technology that Oasis owns as a small nonprofit, but we did have 15 laptops, which we used to wheel into any classroom and use for technology classes sometimes. We took all 15, and when we looked at our instructor base of who needed a laptop at home in order to teach a class, we were able to take those and give it to anybody who needed them. And then I mentioned the going global. We didn't do anything special. It's people looking to solve their issue, and we have a solution for that. You know, loneliness and social isolation and depression is amplifying. And as I mentioned, all of our colleagues in senior living and library systems and everywhere else just don't have anything to offer, so they're coming to us for that solution. The challenges, of course, have been great, along with the positive learnings we've had. In our first week, we had an instructor who came to Oasis in that environment where I mentioned we were close to the public, but we were staffing and helping each instructor to come in and teach in an empty classroom. Well, that person did not know, and she came in every day, and we had a gut-wrenching communication to look at every person who may have been on site within the 2-week period with that instructor and may have gotten infected. Very scary. People were so angry at Oasis, so angry at me because I couldn't provide certain details about this circumstance. The good news is this instructor spent 3 weeks in ICU, came back out strong, and literally this is what the family of Oasis is. She had oxygen still because she needed to work on her strength. And the first thing she did, she filmed herself to say, I'm back. Students, get ready, homework is coming. So just all ended well, but it was pretty scary. We heard about Zoom bombers early on, and surely a couple of days later, after we read articles and read in the media, we did have our own Zoom bomber, and very inappropriate, very scary. And luckily, we had always had a staff member in every Zoom class. We've never left an instructor alone ever. So those staff members were able to take very quick action and deal with that particular situation. In a negative way, you know, we said, initially had thought, well, if the class is free and we invite everybody in the world to come join us, why wouldn't we post it on the website and just say, here's the meeting, here's the password, anybody come meditate with us or, you know, learn with us. That bombing experience made us go back to the registration system and passwords, which created a little bit of a barrier. It's still free of charge, but we needed to go back to more staff time, more password control, more staffing every Zoom meeting. But that was a learning we had to make sure we pay attention to. And then barriers, of course, are still there. 5,000 people cannot go online because they don't have a device, they don't have the skills or the training to help them with the device they already have. So I will stop there. I will come back for a couple minutes at the end, but at this moment, I will ask for the next slide and will introduce my colleague, Brandon Harding, who is, I think, the only person who still does his own job because he's so fabulous at it. He's our director of programs, and he manages a team of staff and volunteers to produce excellent quality programming. So Brandon, you're on.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having us all out here today. We really appreciate the opportunity. So next slide, please. All right, so again, my name is Brandon. I'm the Director of Lifelong Learning at San Diego Oasis. Essentially, my main role is to provide content for all of the members coming into our main centers. And definitely, I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on the typical Oasis day prior to COVID-19. Those were great days. Now we can all very much appreciate more in retrospect. So on a typical day, we had 20 to 30 programs going on throughout San Diego County. We have a few primary program sites where most of our programs emanate from. At the Grossmont Center, we have the Lifelong Learning Center and our Wellness Center, where we do physical activities, Zumba, Tai Chi, all sorts of great exercises, as well as line dancing. We have a few different types of line dancing. And then we also have a satellite office up in Escondido, where we also do a lot of programming. And to give you all a little bit more sense of the types of programs that we offer, we have a great diversity that we offer our members. So like I said, we have great fitness classes, various levels, low impact, high impact, a little bit of something for everyone. We also have great art classes. So if you want to learn how to paint in acrylics, watercolor, we have those types of classes. Philosophy, technology, and as Simona mentioned, we have just a multitude of different technology classes. We have the great tech fair every year, but all throughout the year, those tech workshops are, many of our members capitalize on those, and as Simona has mentioned, especially for the iPhone classes. Some people take iPhone 1 4 or 5 times, and then they move on to the second, and then the third, and then they might go back down to the first one again. Definitely, it's possible that maybe Apple should give us some commission, because we've definitely sold a lot of iPhones through these classes. I would say a majority of our members, that's what they're using, our Apple devices. So we also teach languages. Right now we offer Spanish, we offer Russian, Italian, French. There you go, great stuff. History, and so much more. So that's a typical day at Oasis. Next slide, please. All right, so when we had to do this transition just on the fly, we're going from primarily in-person classes to all online. Definitely the experience has changed for our members. As Simona had mentioned, we deal with in-person classes. And what's great about Oasis, and something that definitely Simona highlighted, was that social component that underlies everything we do. Of course, members come in, they take wonderful classes, they stimulate their mind, they keep their bodies active with all the physical fitness classes, but also too, you have an opportunity to meet new friends, to see old friends again during classes. So often people will come in for a history lecture, for example, and then afterwards they go out to Starbucks, they have coffee, or they go to Panera. Since our primary location in Grossmont, located in a mall, we have lots of great food options. Members definitely take advantage of that. So again, you know, transitioning to the online environment, it has changed quite a bit. So initially for me, I had to kind of think about, well, what programs would successfully transition online from in-person to Zoom? And so some of the classes we looked at, well, could fitness classes, could those translate successfully, especially say if an instructor can't see all of the individual tiles at one time to monitor whether someone is doing a pose or doing the exercise correctly. We don't want anyone to hurt themselves, especially given our audience, you know. So we had to take that into consideration. Also too, things like art classes. Right now, you know, luckily we're in an era of Amazon. So if you do need some art supplies, you could always order it off Amazon, but you know, maybe not available for everyone, and maybe delivery times might be prolonged because of the crisis. So we couldn't really do a lot of art classes as materials needs. Also too, the setup, you know, really Zoom, how we have it today, it's great for lectures, it's great for presentations. So in my idea of how we transition, I really want to focus, at least initially, on presentations, our history courses, and some of the other smaller conversational classes that we offer as well. So what programs would members respond to given the unique situation? That was the other question I asked myself. So I have a pool of instructors, but then, well, what content should we be providing? And it's been a very interesting experiment over the last month or so. And I can say, essentially, members have responded to 2 different categories. One, practical classes, and specifically with finance. You know, obviously, the finance, the volatility of the stock market right now, especially our members being primarily retired. They have a lot of money invested in the stock market. So they want to hear from financial experts, well, what should I do? So those courses have been responded to very positively. We've had a lot of participation. The other group of classes that people have really responded to have been more history-related classes. And I feel that that's probably more in relation to, there's just so much going on right now. There's only so much news that you can digest on a daily basis before just losing your mind. And they want an escape. You know, people are looking for content to kind of momentarily take them away. And through some of our great history classes that are taught by wonderful professors at local colleges and universities, they're able to get that. They're able to just learn about some interesting and unique historical facts, something that will kind of take them out for the moment. So again, that's, you know, the two kind of groups of classes that, at least for us, have been the most successful. So again, finance and then kind of history courses where folks can kind of lose themselves for an hour and not have to think about COVID-19 and staying in. So once we had that, once we had the pool of instructors who we could pull from, and then we knew the content that we wanted to focus on, next was educating the instructors. So as Simona mentioned, we had a very quick training on a Sunday right before we were about to launch, and that was heavily attended. Tons of instructors, they got so much out of it, but for many of them, and for myself, and probably many of us attending today, I was brand new to Zoom, they were brand new to Zoom. So the one training seminar was great and established a foundation, but they needed something to help them kind of continue on to reinforce those basic fundamentals of Zoom. So we had an additional training seminar with a number of instructors. Beyond that, what I found very helpful, especially for some of our instructors, we have a really wide range of ages of folks who teach for us. Some 40 to 50, some 50 to 60, and then some 60 and plus. So for all the folks, some of them, they didn't have the technical savvy that some of the other folks did. And so one-on-one training sessions have been really vital, where I will actually get on and we'll just do a meeting, the instructor and I, and we'll just kind of go through the steps and slowly just going through it kind of almost in a hands-on way. And they feel at ease because it's just myself, it's just them, and we're just kind of going through it. So to help prepare them for that live environment once they get out there to teach the class, I found that this has been incredibly beneficial for the instructors. But also too, and especially something for someone who's just learning, okay, you're gonna learn this brand new platform in Zoom. And then you're gonna go out and give this lecture to 40 to 50, potentially 100 members tuning in. That's something that can be a bit nerve-wracking, you know, something for the first time. So what has also been a great benefit and just a peace of mind for our instructors is that a staff member has stayed on the meeting the entire time. So that way, if there are any technical issues, if they get caught up on anything or forget, oh, how do I switch out, you know, to view my video from the presentation? Well, the staff member is right there to assist them. And for a majority of the lectures and the presentations that we've done so far, most have gone very well. But always, again, it's just that peace of mind that instructors feel much more comfortable having the basic skills from the webinars and then the one-on-one meetings to help reinforce some of those content and principles of Zoom. But then also, too, having the staff members remain in the meeting. It's been a great peace of mind. So next slide, please. All right, so shifting the schedule around. As Simona has mentioned, we typically program for our catalog. Catalogs are planned way in advance because we do have still a printed catalog for a number of our members. Currently the ratio, about 50% access us online, but then 50% also register in person. But a majority of our members still, though, take advantage of having that physical catalog, something in their hand that they can really look through and read all the descriptions and find the programming that interests them the most coming up. But for us right now, having the transition to Zoom, none of us planned for COVID-19 a few months back. So the schedule was kind of like a blank slate almost. So instead of booking months in advance, now I'm booking 3 to 30 days in advance. So that has definitely been quite a challenge just in terms of workload for all of us. And as Simona's mentioned, we've had to adopt kind of new roles and do new things that we don't typically do in the day. So this has been a very interesting experience, to say the least. One positive, though, about scheduling 3 to 30 days in advance has been the opportunity to introduce new content that's a little, that has more content relevant to right now. It's a little bit more topical. So for example, a few of our members have sent me articles in the local paper. Oh, this was really interesting. And I was able to connect with some of the either journalists, or if the journalists were quoting a local researcher, I was able to reach out them directly to ask them, well, hey, I read this fantastic article. Could you please come to our center, or our virtual center, I should say, and present? So that's been really great in terms of that dynamic of being able just to book on the fly, find some interesting content that's relevant right now, and then present that to our members. So staff challenges of physical distancing. So internally, my team that I work with to help do all of our programs that we do, like Simona said, 3,000 every year. It's a lot of programs, and so I have a great team to help me facilitate all that. So what we've been doing is we've been having virtual Zoom meetings. So it's helped us internally learn a lot more about Zoom and its different features. So we meet every other day or so. But then we've also utilized file sharing, things like Dropbox and Google Docs and so forth. So that way, even though we're not together in the office in that same area with all our cubicles, instead we're able to share everything virtually, and we're still able to keep connected. We're making sure that everyone's staying on task, and we're not doubling on work. So that's been a fantastic utilization there for sure. Next slide, please. All right, so the next two slides really interesting. So we typically have an evaluation for every class. We want to know how we did. Was the instructor good? How was your overall experience? How did you hear about us? Well, for this new coronavirus Zoom environment, I completely redesigned our evaluation form to really inquire more about Zoom and how members are finding that experience. And so the results that I've received so far have been really positive. I'm very optimistic. So this is one of the questions, one of two. For you, was Zoom difficult or easy to use? Well, so happy to report, over a majority, 63% said it was very easy. 24% said somewhat easy. So to me, I mean, that's over 80% either found it somewhat or very easy to use. And I do agree, once you kind of get more practice with Zoom, the UI is fairly intuitive. It's not too difficult to use. And again, for our members who, they've become a bit more tech savvy due to all those tech classes that we hold throughout the year, in addition to Tech Fair. And I'm not ashamed to admit, but some of our members know how to use their iPhone better than I do, without a doubt, from those classes. So to me, again, this was really encouraging. Next slide, please. All right, and this was one of the other questions that I wanted to share with you all, because it was relevant specifically to Zoom and how our older adult population is experiencing Zoom. So how would you rate your online experience at Oasis? And overall, 70% found it very good, 17% somewhat good. So again, 87% are finding it very good or somewhat good. We know we're on the right track in terms of the content that we selected for members that we thought would resonate well, and certainly have. In addition to that, the delivery mechanisms, and Amy's going to elaborate on that more, of how we get the Zoom information, the meeting ID, the password to members. So overall, it's a great experience. Like I said, having that dynamic workflow for sure. But as, of course, with all of us, a multitude of industries, there's been certainly challenges, but I'm very happy, I'm very optimistic that we are just adapting every day and overcoming any challenge that comes our way. So for me, I think that's going to conclude my portion. I believe Amy is up next.
Thank you so much, Brandon. And just in keeping in time in mind, I'm going to go through a few things a little bit quicker, just so that we can get some time in for question and answering coming up. So next slide, please. We did talk about how we went from an in-person to an online organization basically over a weekend. We did very much notice the membership shift as far as having a lot of early adapters, You can see that in the statistics that Brandon just shared with us as far as the ones that are online with us. We are very aware that there is a good portion of our membership that is tech challenged, and we are working on ways to try to help those members, which I'll talk about a little bit more. And then as Simona mentioned, we have some non-adapters, people that just are not willing or able to be online and participate in our programs. Next slide. One of the biggest things that we realized is communication to members. So for the members that are online, they are receiving e-blast. They're regularly getting communications from us via email, but we also have a large portion of our membership that does not have an email address. So we put together a huge call tree with our volunteers. They were happy to help us remotely, and so we would email them lists of members that needed to be called and which classes they needed to be contacted about. And then we also used our voicemail, our main voicemail message to provide important content. So changes that we were making, things that we were working on that would apply to membership as a whole and not just to the people that were getting the messages online. We've also utilized our website to constantly put new updates, class information, helpful tools, things that would be helpful that they might find beneficial in joining us online. And then also just providing links for things on how to use Zoom, things like that they might find as a good resource. And then going back to the members that aren't online with us and that don't have an email, we are working on a program that we hope to be able to launch in a few weeks with one of our community partners on helping those that don't have access to devices or internet connection to have a device to use so that they can not be isolated and have a connection and start getting the training that they need in order to try to take our programs and do other things to stay connected. Next slide. So Simona did mention that I have now become more of a media person in our team, and we've used our video capabilities to provide things like member testimonial videos. We mentioned earlier, if you have one person that you know at Oasis and you see them, talking about how it was a struggle for them at first and now they feel comfortable using it, it helps others to feel that they can do the same. We've also provided messages from Simona to our membership, and then also staff has done things like this, the how-to videos, the do's and don'ts of Zoom, which I would like to share because it's just a cute reflection of our staff, and the members have enjoyed seeing people that they usually see on a weekly basis in person at their home. Terry, are you able to open the link? So that's just one example of how we've been able to put a familiar face to our members. Again, they see the staff on a very regular basis, and they enjoy getting to see us share helpful things that are actually beneficial to them in a fun format. So we can skip the next slide on scheduling, and I'll just start talking about Zoom just a little bit more. We have found that meetings and webinars are two different things if you're not that familiar with Zoom. Today is a webinar, obviously, where you're doing more watching. There's not as much interaction. The majority of our classes are in the meeting format because they are more interactive. So it allows people to ask questions, have more one-on-one time with an instructor. It's more social for them, and it allows them to be able to feel like they're actually in the classroom, even though they're not in a physical space. And we have talked about the security where we've made them all password protected, and we do have a staff host in each session so that if there is something that comes up, we as a staff are there to either assist the instructor or to take care of something that shouldn't be happening in the classroom setting. And then finally, I do want to touch on our volunteers. The next slide, please. We have a little more than 700 volunteers as part of our organization. For the centers and instructors, we are still using a lot of those volunteers right now to help with our program. The volunteers have been great with the call trees and reaching out as far as the class changes, non-email members, making sure that they're getting our messages. And then also we are just checking in to make sure that people are doing all right, see if there's anything that they need. We've had a couple of mailer projects where we've been able to drop off supplies at a doorstep, and a volunteer has been able to help us with mailer projects, again, communicating more so to the members that are non-email members. And then one of the biggest things that we've done is create a whole new group of volunteers. And that is primarily to do tech support. We realize that there is a huge need for people that are needing the tech support. They might have a device, they might have internet access, but they aren't really sure what to do other than to take a phone call on a smartphone or check their email. So we've established a tech support group to help members, and we've had some success already that we've seen from people that were having connectivity issues and now are actually they're on Zoom. They are able to register for classes and attend classes after receiving the technical support, which has been really great. So I'll turn it back over to Simona if you want to share the last couple of slides, and I think we'll take some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. So just a couple notes, and I saw some questions in the Q&A box about funding. If I could please get to the next slide. So Oasis is a small nonprofit. We've been around for 40 years almost. And this is how we are funded on a normal day. We have a tremendous intergenerational tutoring program where our seniors are trained and to mentor and tutor in literacy in low-performing schools and Title I schools. That program is entirely funded by grants and donations. Our lifelong learning and healthy aging wellness programs are 50-50. We charge small fees, which typically covers half the effort. The other half comes from donations and grants. And then of course, anything new we want to do, new locations to create, new programs to launch, again, is fully funded by charitable work, grants, donations. We have one small government contract from the County of San Diego, but other than that, it's all philanthropy. So as you can imagine, our model has completely fallen apart. We are not able to charge and bring in half the class revenue we need to because most of the programs are free. Most of all funding from philanthropic sources has shifted to support COVID-19 efforts. So regular funders we typically rely on are not there for us at this time. So this is definitely a challenge. We are grappling with that challenge right now to see how we could continue building more and more and more virtual programs. Now that we have no walls, geography is no longer relevant, and we've already have this momentum going. How can we sustain that? We are very conscious that we can't charge normal fees that we typically do because there's such a struggle and a barrier to get more people to come and be with us. So it's an unresolved question. I can tell you more about what we don't have, more than what we do have or how we're going to go about that. We do not have a large endowment. We don't have any guaranteed income. So we're working on some other new partnerships of just those few funders that may come there for us, because we do have important work to do. And typically I would say we work on social isolation, but I'm acutely aware of just the mental health shift we've seen this week. And now that we have heard from the governor and other healthcare experts that this will be longer rather than shorter, we really need to elevate and see what we can do in that space. If you've looked at our website, you'll see that we have a lot of recurring groups: meditation, relaxation with music, caregiving support group, grieving support group. And those groups have really been tremendously positively important to our members in a confidential setting. I'll take the next slide, please. So the future, just a couple words about where we're going. It's an interesting place to realize we've gone from a small, locally focused organization to a virtual global senior center of the future. What we're doing today is never going to go away. People that are with us right now will stay with us, I believe. We used to think of this continuum prior to COVID times. You know, we have healthy, independent seniors who are still want to do their own thing. This used to be the member of Oasis. Our average age used to be 71. And again, somebody who has the independence can get to someplace by herself or himself or with a caregiver. That was the member. We typically would lose that member after 20 or 30 years as their health would deteriorate, their mobility maybe wouldn't be as good, they might not be driving anymore. Well, we're realizing that we will probably not have that separation. You know, just because our member may eventually move into a senior living community doesn't mean they would stop coming to us, because now they know how to participate with us in this virtual way. So there's a tremendous positivity that I feel like we're investing that will pay dividends in many ways in the future. We're very aware that there are very particular barriers, and I will go a little bit back to what Amy said. Our staff is small. We cannot make 50,000 phone calls. We cannot provide a one-on-one hour to help a member to get onto Zoom. We don't have the software that we could go into somebody's computer and click some buttons and do some software installs to help a person overcome a barrier. We just can't. But we do have some pilots in the works, including the first one that Amy's managing. So our largest technology company in San Diego is called Qualcomm. They are a chip maker for any smart device in the world. They've furloughed a lot of employees, and they've sent out an email. Here are some organizations that need volunteers. Now that you're furloughed or maybe laid off, maybe you have time to help. So those volunteers did come to us and said, I'm available to do anything you want us to do. And we said, if we're able to get more devices, would you be able to download certain software, preload it? They said yes. If we have those devices, would you be willing to drive around and deliver it on somebody's doorstep? Yes. Once you deliver that, are you able to provide one-on-one consultations to walk the member? Okay, let's take it out of the box. Here's where the charger goes. And all of those answers have been yes. So we're piloting it right now. We don't have funding yet for the devices, but we hope that some of our technology partners or government partners may be able to allocate funds. But we're building the infrastructure to do a pilot. So we could maybe start with 50 people, deliver 50 and see how many of those would get online quickly. Because a component of that, it's not just lifelong learning, just grieving group, just the social interaction. It also opens doors for telehealth. And we have our healthcare system already with us saying they will fully support any telehealth virtual efforts if we could just get them there. So we're working on that. And, you know, in a month, maybe we could have a whole separate session to talk about what happened in that pilot. We've also been raising money and ideas for the Oasis Innovation Institute. That would be a first of its kind lighthouse to bring everything aging related and technology related. Our vision includes that we would have an actual telehealth center within that center. We would have an entrepreneurship center where our 5,000 members could provide feedback real time on testing devices, on testing services, on testing entrepreneurial ideas. We could have showcases and maybe have some kind of a senior approved device station. We could do education. We could do a genius bar, which would be, if you can imagine going to an Apple store and, you know, talking to a very young person to get help. A lot of seniors are petrified to go in there because they think these people speak lightning speed and they speak some unknown language to them and they have no patience. But if we could have a genius bar in a virtual and a physical where you could go and ask any question daily, that would really help with training, especially of the older adult population, maybe the 75 plus or 85 plus. So I will stop there. I believe the next slide is the Q&A slide. And we are happy to take questions and hear from you.
Great. Thank you so much, Simona. This is Terry Shaw with the CDA team. And I know I speak for many people who've let us know how much they appreciate all of the great information that you've provided today. And we do have a lot of questions that have come in, many of which have actually been answered during the course of the presentation. So that's fantastic. There is one question that's come up a lot that will also help, I think, a lot of people in the future, and that is, will we be posting or making these slides available online? And the answer to that is definitely yes. Please check our Engage website. We'll be posting the materials from this session as well as the recording. So thank you all for joining us. Please do check that site. And I'm sorry that we have run short on time so that we don't have time to answer a lot of questions live. However, we will be capturing the questions that you all have asked and using those as really great ideas for future webinars that we can hold and continue to make advancements in pivoting our services to online and really helping to address that digital divide in order to keep seniors, older adults, people with disabilities connected and doing well now and in the future. Thank you all very much for joining us.